Down said, huh? It's a football podcast with Cody and Sam. Hey, what's up? You guys are listening to the Midwest Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast. Welcome. We're about to break down a 12-team Dynasty Fantasy Football League. And we do that every single week. So we're really happy that you guys are joining us. My name is Tom. And Cody's on the call. What's up, Cody?
Hey, guys. Happy to be back.
We missed you.
It was a really fun experience. It was really nice to watch you guys from the, straight from the actual channel. And like I said in the comments section, it's a lot more fun to be a viewer than it is to be a talker.
Sam, you're also on the call. Do you feel the same way?
I did when I got to listen to Trujillo, but Cody, I gotta say, talking to Laramie last week was pretty awesome. You missed out on that one.
Dude, I know, it actually is. I've been wanting to talk to him for so long, and then I missed out on it, and now I just feel sad. But I feel like I kind of got to know him through the podcast.
No, you didn't. You don't know us like me and Sam do. You don't know him like me and Sam do now. We have a bond.
We have a bond now, Cody. You can never come between that.
You can't replace it.
I had a bond with him before it was cool to have a bond with him.
I'm not sure if that's how it works. Anyway, let's move on to the meat of the podcast. We're pretty excited this week because we had oodles of trades. I mean, literally oodles. It is oozing from the trade gods. 9 trades to break down, and on top of that, it's about midway through the fantasy football not the fantasy football season, actually the real NFL season. So we decided this was a perfect time to break down the draft that we had in 2020 and take a bit of an analysis at it. And that's all. That's the 2 things that we have. But don't be surprised if it still goes about 5.5 hours because there's a lot to talk about. With that, Cody, what's your overarching headline for week 9 now?
My big one is just how rookies continue to ball. Just everywhere. Jerry Jeudy finally had his game where he went off. Tua, had an awful first start, but then finally looked like an NFL quarterback again this last start. DeAndre Swift is still looking really good. I don't know. It's exciting. It's exciting time to be, to watch these rookies and know that they're going to be around for the next 10 years.
Yeah, it is. I think even Laramie last week said something similar, or he was talking about injuries, I guess. But I've said this like 3 weeks ago. It's like, I know even like, how do you feel about the quarterbacks too? It seems like we have a surplus of quarterback talent in the NFL now, whereas like 5 years ago there was like this huge issue with there's like 8 teams that didn't have quarterbacks. Now it seems like there's only like 2 teams that don't have a viable quarterback.
Yeah, it's getting pretty crazy. Hopefully some of these older guys start dropping off at some point. But yeah, Tua, Herbert, and Burrow have all at least met, if not exceeded, expectations.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to watch. I'm looking forward to watching more of that in the future. Sam, what's your headline?
Honestly, and this is not even being reactionary, on the flip side of that, I was going to say how apparent it is that this year we did not have a generational talent at running back for rookies. Similar to last year as well, but like the way that Jonathan Taylor and CEH have played this year, and especially CEH after they picked up Le'Veon Bell, who's old and in my opinion washed up, they're not going to, in my opinion, ever be a Saquon Barkley or Ezekiel Elliott. Or even a Dalvin Cook, in my opinion. Like, these guys are going to be good. They're going to be solid starters, especially CEH being on the Chiefs, who isn't going to be good there. But I don't think they're ever going to be what you build your entire team around.
I think I agree with that. I think it is surprising. About 5 weeks ago, we talked about would you rather have Jonathan Taylor or CEH? I think I kind of agreed with you. I would have probably rather taken CEH in fantasy, but I know but you were talking about in the real NFL. And now it's funny because they're both struggling. Like, and even Swift isn't even getting all of their issues. Like the three of them, their issue is that they're not getting the touches. Like, what's up with that?
I think it might just be the fact it's just a rookie season. I mean, I totally get what you're saying with the Saquon Barkley thing, but I mean, even look at like CMC, his rookie year, he didn't like go off, and he was still kind of splitting carries with another older veteran, Jonathan Stewart at the time. I think it could be that way with some of these guys. Is it's just going to take maybe a year or so for some of the older running backs to fall off. I think also just where they went. I guess Kansas City was kind of weird because I thought they could have. Well, they did. They did rely on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he looked like he was going to be that guy. But to Sam's point, you just don't have the generational talent. Where I'm just looking at these guys and I'm like, oh my God, that's a running back right there. That's exactly what I want to see out of a rookie running back. And they all look good. Don't get me wrong, but they don't look great.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Cody, that you're making that like they are kind of behind older running backs right now. So I do think especially like Swift, Dobbins, and Clyde are all going to get a big bump next year. JT is a little bit more concerning to me because he's being out snapped by Jordan Wilkins, which is surprising. But yeah, the other three, I'm not concerned about long term. I just don't think they'll be like that solid top 5 court running back that we've seen.
Yeah, and even Akers, right? Like,
yeah.
He was another guy that some people were saying was a first rounder, maybe end of the first round. But with that crowded backfield, he's been hurt a few times, but even when he's been healthy, Sean McVay has just been a complete asshat. And they've been just like, Malcolm Brown, you're the best running back. Here, take 20 touches. Or Darrell Henderson, you're the best. Take 25 touches. So
yeah, people were really high on him. And I'm surprisingly, out of all the rookie running backs, someone we'll probably talk about later is James Robinson. Has been the best by a lot. So
you could make the argument that he's not a generational talent, but he's the one bell cow.
Yeah. Yep. It's all about situation, right?
Yep. Exactly. Cool. My headline is that, and we kind of talked about this a little bit before the show, but it's actually more fantasy related. I started having this thought that what is the best situation in this year since we have a megalith team? If you were the second best team, where would you want to end up in seeding? And I was kind of positing that I would prefer to be in the 4 seed to play against Sam, because then I could, in theory, beat him in the 1 week playoff coming after his bye, assuming that if I were the second best team, and I believe I could beat Sam, and then I wouldn't have to play him in the 2 week playoffs or the 2 week championship. And so I don't know if you guys had anything to add from what we talked about earlier, if you guys just wanted to disagree with me, but that was my headline.
Yeah, I think it actually is interesting. I think it does come down to a matter of perspective. There are certain teams in our league that are fine being second place every single year, and that's what they really want to be. And if that's the case, I don't think you want that 4th spot at all. I'd much rather have the other side on that. If that's your goal, is just to earn a position and make some money, then that's the way to go. But if you're actually wanting to compete for number 1, I 100% agree with you. I actually think you want to face Sam in the 1 week, and that's your best chance to possibly get in the number 1 spot.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys are both saying. I'd personally prefer to have the bye, just because it's higher odds by far of being in the championship. You don't have to play me until then. And I don't know. It's tough coming from my perspective because I am that big team that people want to beat. But I guess I just wouldn't feel like it's necessary. Not like it's an asterisk year, but if I'm not in the championship, you know what I mean? Then, like, are you really beating the best team in the champ? Like, obviously, wouldn't be beating them in the championship. It'd beat me the week before, but it just doesn't feel right to me.
I don't care about what's right. I care about what is best for me.
Yeah, and that's fair then. Yeah, I think if you played me the 1 week playoff, you definitely have the best chance of winning the championship.
The best chance of winning it, but to Cody's point, which is a very valid point, it's not the best chance of finishing the highest.
Yeah, I'd say it's the lowest EV.
Yes, that's goddamn integrals and shit. I love it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's get away. Let's get away from math. This is all about fantasy, where there's no math. In fact, Sleeper does the math for us, which is why we use it. Otherwise, we'd have to go back to like the 80s where we have to crack open the newspaper.
The first couple years of fantasy, I did add up all the scores manually.
Did you really?
Yep, probably my first 2 years. It took a long time.
And now you're an accountant. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I know. Big surprise, huh?
God, what a nerd.
Yeah, it was back before it was. How about this? We're aging us. It was back before ESPN was free to play fantasy football. That's how
Wait,
long ago
it
it was.
used to cost money?
Yeah. Well, I don't think they had it for a while. 'Cause, I mean, we started like, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago at this point.
Hmm.
So like before it was really big. Yeah. So, but yeah,
Wow.
yeah, fun fact.
Okay, this is a side tangent, but I think we were both at the same, maybe not. This might be a story you guys can't relate to. One of us was with me, one of you guys was with me when we were at a baseball game talking to some guy that like claimed he invented fantasy baseball. Was that one of you guys?
I don't remember that.
Okay. I'm just
It
going to tell
probably
this
was with Sam Christensen when you were just
Yep.
using him to get to free ball games.
No, wasn't using him. It was voluntary.
Well,
No, I think it actually might have been Derek now that I think about it. Anyway, sitting next to this guy at the game, and we were talking about fantasy because we were in a league together. And then this guy right next to us was like, "Oh, that's cool. You guys, or how are your guys' teams going, or whatever?" And we told him about it, and then all of a sudden he just drops the, "Oh yeah, I was pretty instrumental in fantasy becoming a thing in the U.S." We're
Yeah,
like,
I'm
"What?"
sure. As he's sitting in the nosebleed section, probably watching a Twins game.
it was
I
all
was like-
me.
I was like, how? He was like, well, I created a club and we had like 60 people in it and with like 6 different leagues. And that was back in the days when we did newspaper and we had to like count up in the news. And it was, it was kind of believable. I'm with you guys that I say like, I think it might have been one of those things where several people came up with the idea for fantasy baseball, and then eventually it
Yeah.
had like a unified presence.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty short leap from fantasy football to fantasy baseball. So like,
Well,
it
right.
makes sense. But yeah,
He also just might have been an early adapter where he just was like one of like the first, I don't know, 5,000 like groups to play it. So it was like he aided in his popularity. Saying you're instrumental is quite extreme in that case. But, if whatever makes him sleep better.
Cody, you don't know him. He might have been instrumental.
I don't think you even knew him.
I didn't. He said he would send out a newsletter that had the standings, the scores from the last week. And then, I was like, wow, that is truly retro.
that's actually pretty sweet. I think that's fun.
It is, but you couldn't really do it anymore because it's all online. There's no, I guess
Boys,
our
we're
podcast.
we're going offline. We're going offline.
Oh, no.
I'll send out a newsletter every week if you want or not.
There's the one thing I could say is if we actually did offline right now, there's no way people wouldn't just like question Sam's points, Sam's record, everything about Sam right now, though. You're lucky we have Sleeper to feel like we can kind of trust it.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm already fudging it anyway. I can make changes.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
I knew something was up.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's jump into we wanted to start right away with some of the trades that happened this week because as I alluded to earlier and as everyone was talking about in our sleeper chat, what a crazy week for trades. People just trades galore and some huge blockbuster trades like the first one we're going to talk about and some pretty absent-minded trades that really didn't affect anyone. But right off the bat, let's address this trade between Adam and Mike Reed that started it all. And I believe this actually, it seemed like this kind of started a chain of trades for Mike because it just kind of said, oh, I have this player now. I want to trade him. I have this player now. And it's just like domino trades. But Adam acquired Dak Prescott, Chris Godwin, Harrison Butker, and Marquez Callaway in exchange for Mike Reed's DJ Moore, Tua Tagovailoa, and a 2022 first-round pick. So, guys, what do we think about this trade? Who won?
So, yeah, to me, it actually does help both teams. Adam gets, in my opinion, a better quarterback for the next 5 years or so, but he's also older. A much better receiver than Chris Godwin, really just all around. And then, Butker and Callaway are both fine. Mike gets younger and adds a pick. So I think both of those I think it really satisfies both teams. Adam probably won by a little bit, but I like it for both teams.
Yeah, I actually agree with that for sure. I actually think I really liked it on Adam's side. I like the fact that you're able to trade still a rookie quarterback in Tua for basically a top five quarterback in Dak for basically his winning period. And then Chris Godwin, I think, is a little bit better than DJ Moore right now. Obviously, it's not by a ton. Um, you add honestly one of the best kickers in the league, and you throw that in there, and kickers are, those are the things that matter. That's what gets you championships right now. So,
It's true.
for him trust me, as a person who perpetually gets lucky and wins games off kickers, not this year, but previously, kickers matter. And no, I was actually funny. I was talking to Adam when he was going to do this trade, and he was talking about Harrison Butker. He's like, "Yeah, it'd be kind of nice to have a good kicker." I was like, "Dude, by next year we might not even have kickers. Like, I don't think it matters that much." But yeah. In conclusion, but I also really like it for Mike's side as well. I think, like Sam said, he gets younger, and it's looking a little bit better for him now, especially that Tua had a good game. Well, it was looking better for Mike.
Yeah, we can. We'll get to that later. No spoilers. Um, I I do think that without saying the same thing you guys said, because I agree that it's good for both teams. However, I would prefer to be on Mike's side of this actually, because I do really like what Tua has shown us so far. And I think if you basically say, like, to me, Tua for Dak is, I don't know, maybe this is controversial, but it's close to being pushed just because I think Dash does go down in value after his injury.
But you're a Dak truther too.
I am a
Wow.
Dak truther.
That's big.
I am a Dak truther, but
Wow.
I also do think Tua, what he's shown so far, I know it's super early, but you could make the argument that they're both QB1, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
And then from there, you're basically saying it's a first to split the difference between DJ Moore and Chris Godwin, and maybe if there's a difference between Dak and Tua. So in other words, I think Mike does win the trade, but not they. I think they do both win in some respect as well.
So really, we're all kind of split then. So overall, it's a pretty even trade, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, good for both these teams.
Yeah,
then.
it's good for both teams. I like Adam's side and value, but I think it's good for both teams.
So Cody, you seem to pretty disagree. Where do you put Dak Prescott? I'm just curious.
I think Dak is still in that top 5 category. I'm not as sold on Tua as you are. I think that's the difference where we lie.
Yeah, you've never liked Tua.
I never liked Tua. I still don't really like Tua that much. I mean, I saw that last game, and he did look good. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, he also didn't look good at all in the first game. And I get Aaron Donald's a monster. I'm not trying to put this all on Tua, but
He also
I don't
didn't
know.
need to look good the first game, though. I mean, Cody, he has literally never lost an NFL game in his entire career.
I didn't think about it.
Not
but
one.
at that time, he had never won a game either. But yeah,
He's won
I
3
don't know.
games now.
I was impressed with Tua's mobility in concert with his actually surprisingly good accuracy.
Yeah, I think his pocket awareness was good too.
Yes.
Yeah, he made a lot of really good throws. I was happily surprised, but I'm not sold yet. And we'll see. We'll see going forward. I still think there's enough question marks on Tua that I actually thought Tua and that first round pick for Dak would seem fair to me. That's first.
Yeah. I definitely shouldn't say they're push because I definitely would take Dak, but they're close enough to me that if you traded 1 for 1, I wouldn't be surprised, especially if you did need a quarterback this year because of Dak's like present value trade. It actually makes sense to me, but future value, maybe I would start to say Dak kind of pulls away because once Dak's healthy, it's hard to bet against him.
Yeah. But I mean, also for like Mike's team, right? We agree that he's not going to be good for a few years probably, and Tua's 5 years younger. So like that's a lot of extra time that Tua could be in the league. So even if he's not as good during the next 5 years, he might impact Mike's competitive period more.
Yeah, that's why I like it for both teams. I just thought the value was. I liked Adam's side a little bit better.
Blockbuster trade for sure. And then we had another changing of hands of DJ Moore because now Matt Trujillo required him along with Brian Edwards in exchange for 2 firsts, Team 12 and Team 3. Does anyone happen to have the background on who Team 12 and Team 3 are?
Looking it up right now. Give me
Okay.
just like un momento.
I thought one was Trujillo's, but I could be wrong. I think the 2021 was Trujillo's.
Yep. The 2021 is Trujillo's, and the 2020 is Ben Fowler's.
Okay, so probably a mid 2020 and a late 2021. Cody, you can take this one first if you want. Take the last one.
Yeah, no problem. I really like it from both sides. I think right now DJ Moore definitely has lost a little bit of value, especially the way he's been playing. But I still think like getting 2 firsts out of this deal, even though it's maybe mid and a late, I think is actually decent value. And I'm not a big Brian Edwards believer either, so I actually think this is a perfect time for Mike to kind of ditch him, especially just as an add-on piece if that's what it took. But then again, on Trujillo's side, you get another, basically this replaces OBJ, who you just lost, and you're in your winning window right now. So DJ Moore is a great win now, and he will have a little bit of future value to him as well. So again, I really like it from both sides. Sure.
Yeah, I think those are all good points. I guess to me, when I analyze it, this is strictly a win for Mike. I do think the picks help him a lot. He's clearly been trying to acquire picks, but I really don't think that DJ Moore impacts Trujillo's team very much. With Lockett, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, I really don't know if DJ Moore puts very many additional points on his starting roster compared to having those 2 firsts that he could try to trade for something.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to bring up with anything related to fantasy is the box and whisker plot. And I think that trading for these 2 firsts is a very small box and whisker plot. You kind of know what you're getting. You're getting first-round picks. Whereas I think Matt acquired these players with 2 buy low opportunities for both of them. And so I think that he believes that they could both surpass a first in value, or 2 firsts, combined value. You could even make the argument that Brian Edwards, he really could become a player that's worth a first and a second or something at some point, because there is still a possibility that he becomes, when healthy, is actually the number 1 receiver on that team opposite of Ruggs. So again, I agree that it's a very even trade, but I think I'm on the train of saying that Mike won 2 trades in a row here. This is a good trade for Mike for what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree.
So I guess one other thing to quickly bring up on that, combining these 2 trades together for Mike, it's roughly he gets Tua and 3 firsts, and he gives up Godwin and Dak. If you combine those 2, does that change either your guys' opinion on who won, who lost, how good it is for Mike's team?
No, it even further magnifies that Mike won those 2. I think that's actually a great way of putting it.
I still think it actually isn't too far off for me, but I think it's the fact that he's just able to translate those added pieces into additional draft capital, which is just what his team needs. So from a value perspective, it doesn't really change much of the way I think, but from an actual team standpoint, I think it increases him significantly.
Yep, I agree.
All right, Sam, you decided it was time to get in the mix.
Yeah, always. I can't miss out on trades.
Sam was like, it's time.
A trade? Who's trading? Yeah. Somebody's trading.
Yeah. And a little backstory on this one. Mike texted me out of the blue and he offered me DJ Chark, who I actually like and used to have on my team, for my 2022 first. So I was like, okay, good value. I'll probably never start Chark. So this is how negotiating goes. And DJ Chark isn't even in this trade. So it's kind of how that happens.
I mean, DJ Chark and Tua Tagovailoa are pretty much the same player.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. Very similar.
I'm surprised he offered you that trade, because I think DJ Chark is worth at least 2 firsts. Don't you agree, Cody?
Oh, God. Yeah. Yep, he sure is.
Well, that's a good segue on our in case no one knows what we're referencing, last year at about this time, I think actually, this is when Sam traded DJ Chark for 2 firsts, and Cody and I were just so pissed off because that did not make sense.
You guys were, but on the flip side, they're actually very similar players. At that same time, DK Metcalf was worse than Chark, and if you had done that for 2 firsts at the time, you would have been rolling over laughing right now.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, right.
Wait, if it was 2 firsts for DK?
Yeah.
You think we would have been like? What do you mean? Like last year?
I mean, like okay, so last year
I would have been that.
At the time I traded Chark, he was worth more than DK when I traded him for 2 firsts. But if you would have traded DK for 2 firsts, I would much rather have a DK side of things right now. I'm just saying like DK increased that much, but they're both like high risk, high reward players.
Yeah, but DK was high on like the draft pick as like a early first rounder in a draft.
He wasn't early first in most leagues, and most people had DJ
In
Chark
most
above
rookie
DK.
drafts, he wasn't a first rounder.
You said early first. He wasn't an early first in most rookie drafts. No,
Like not number 4, number 5. I
no,
suppose
not
that's
not,
mid.
not usually. I think
Mid.
we got him at 8 in MFL. But either way, like I'm saying, is that at the time that I traded him, DJ Chark was worth more than DK based on pretty much everyone's rankings.
I think the difference is that DJ
Hmm.
Chark at the time, that was his ceiling when you traded him, and DK Metcalf's ceiling hadn't even gotten close to what we thought it was, which is that he could be a top 5 receiver. We did think that at the time. It was just whether or not he would turn into
Yeah.
that.
I guess it's personal preference. I had a soft spot in my heart for Chark, and I always thought that he could because they have actually a pretty similar skill set. He was drafted into the NFL higher than DK, and at that time he had showed more. So I don't think that was his ceiling. I think I sold him at a good time. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying I think he could have actually increased more. But we just have
Yeah.
difference of opinions on that anyway. But what do you guys think about this trade?
Well, I guess I'll start this one off since you asked. Um, I, I don't know. It's a really interesting one. Like strictly, okay. Who's team 6, by the way?
That's my team. Yeah.
Okay.
But late first.
So I guess just in case no one's actually looking at what we have on screen, Sam, you acquired Tua Tagovailoa. Oh, I'm getting better at saying his name.
That was good.
And Mike got Drew Brees, Travis Fulgham, and your 2022 first, which early second to late first, however you want to put it. So I guess my opinion is that I lean toward, again, with my favoritism towards Tua, I lean towards saying the Tua acquirer is the winner of this. And my logic is that Drew Brees has only present value. He could be done as soon as this year. Travis Fulgham is very difficult to evaluate. We tried to talk about this a couple weeks ago, and it's still not easy to evaluate where he's actually going to be long term. So he's very much a coin flip. And a 2022 first with the best team we've ever seen in the league is not a typical firsts value, whereas Tua in a superflex league typically goes 102, which is an early first, which is almost double the value of a late first. So just based off of Tua's draft value this year before the season, I think you could make the argument that if he did improve in his value, which I think me and you, Sam, both think that he did, that you did win this trade. Cody, do you agree?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I actually just don't like this trade. Not even looking at value or anything. I just don't like this trade for Mike in general. I think I get that he's trying to go for the 2022 drafts, but like you have a quarterback like Tua that, I mean, like everybody, you guys do keep saying, even though I'm not high on him, I get it. It was tank for Tua. He was debatably before that injury, had the ceiling of being the number 1 overall drafted rookie in last year's draft. And like to me, it's like if you're Mike, I want to play on the upside of everything right now. And to me, Tua does have a pretty high ceiling. And I mean, to get Sam's 2022 draft pick, where unless drastic things happen with your team, Sam, I think you'll be for sure a top 3 placement next year. I don't think that's you could even say top 2 or number 1. So I think it's going to be a late first round draft pick. Drew Brees is nothing for Mike Reed's team. Like literally nothing on his team. Like that's awful in my opinion. And then I agree with what you guys are saying. Travis Fulgham to me he's a question mark at this point. Is he going to continue this for years to come? I don't think so, but maybe. But also I feel like if you're Mike, you're buying him at a really high point right now, which is again, kind of what we were saying before, Tom. I don't know if you like buying players at their high points like this. At least I don't personally. So I think it's a great trade for you, Sam. I think, good on you to pull it off and get it done. And, hopefully that 2022 pick turns into something for Mike and hope maybe Fulgham can stay a wide receiver too. I don't know, maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is actually a pretty interesting point is like right now, do you view Travis Fulgham as necessarily a buy high? I mean, like you guys are saying, there's still significant doubt in his ability, even though he has been the number 1 receiver through the 6 weeks he played. So, like, realistically, I'm not saying that he'll end as the number one receiver, but, like, if he settles into that role of being, like, a high wide receiver too, you could argue that this was a buy low. You know what I mean? Because right now, in my opinion, he purchased him at roughly a mid-second value. But so, I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying. Is like, I don't think this is necessarily a buy high like Chark was, because that was a lot closer to his ceiling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this isn't nearly as bad as I don't feel this. I felt a different kind of way with the Chark trade. I don't feel that bad about this trade. I'm just like, I think you won it. I think you got the better position on this for his team, because I think a lot of things need to go right for him to not regret this trade, is my opinion.
That's
Versus
what I think.
the other alternative.
That's actually exactly what I was going to say. Is I feel like this is a trade that you regret in 6 months. Because I think we could see a Drew Brees retirement. We could see Travis Fulgham just getting change of hands once Rieger gets more developed, and then they draft another receiver, and then Fulgham's no longer a thing anymore. And then that 2022 first is going to be pick 1.12, which who knows what's there. I mean, in the past few years, that's been a tight end and it's been a mediocre receiver, respectively. So it's like, I don't know. I would have kept Tua and run with it if I was Mike. Like, I would have been like so happy with the first 2 trades I made on the day, and then said, all right, I'm done. This is great. My team feels so much better from where I was before.
Yeah, honestly, I agree, and I'm happy to have Tua. And in Mike's defense, he never planned on keeping Drew Brees or Travis Fulgham. Like, I literally was trying to work Corey Davis into the trade because he's played well too. And Mike verbatim said he thinks he can flip Travis Fulgham, but not Corey Davis. Like, he never really thought about keeping Drew Brees or Travis Fulgham. He's just trying to acquire picks, basically.
Yeah.
But,
well, maybe we shouldn't have shit talked his players that he's trying to flip now. No, maybe they won't get a lot of value. Did we just fuck Mike Reed? Oh no.
I mean, there might be some other trades we're going to talk about later that involve both of these players.
I love it when we get to see the full story unfold all in one day.
Yeah, it's great. Oh,
look at that.
Look at that. So one of the ways that he got rid of one of these players that were aforementioned was to Matt Magnuson. Matt Magnuson received Troy Pope, who I'm going to read his position in the team because I don't know who this is, to be honest with you. Running back for the Los Angeles Chargers. DJ Chark, Travis Fulgham. Those 3 players were for Matt. And Mike acquired from Matt Darnell Mooney, the high-flying receiver on the Bears, who is, to me, kind of a buy. I don't know if he's a buy high or low, just whatever. And then 2021 first rounder. So, guys, who won this trade this time around?
To me, definitely Matt. I think Chark is worth, and given that first is Laramie's, so right now it's projected around 105, 106, so mid. I think Chark is worth a little bit less than that 2021 first, but I think Fulgham is worth quite a bit more than Mooney. But overall, I don't think it's the worst trade.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I think from a value perspective, I do like it again on that side. I mean, I think maybe that first, right where that is at, maybe a little bit higher than that right now, probably right where that first is at. Yeah, is right around where maybe I put DJ Chark. Sorry, I was thinking about that for a second. Is right around where I put DJ Chark. Could be with the potential to be higher now a little bit. Not fully against that, but then I totally agree with what you're saying about Travis Fulgham. Compared to Darnell Mooney, I think he is way better than him. So I think it's a great buy for Matt Magnuson. But again, I can't underestimate how effective it is for Mike Reed to get these draft picks, especially at a time when draft picks maybe aren't being valued as high as they can be at different times.
Yeah, but I think that's a good thing, because if you don't.
No, it is. I agree.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so it's a good thing for Mike. Yeah.
Yes,
that's awesome.
I'm saying this is a good thing for Mike.
Okay.
I'm saying he's buying draft picks when they're not at like really high values, which they can be at a certain time of the year.
Yeah, I agree. If we get to draft day and Matt's sitting on the board at 106, I don't think there's any way he makes his trade.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that point. That's actually interesting. Yeah, Matt wins the trade in my eyes, but Mike is taking a direction with his team, which is what we called for since week 2 of our podcast. So I can't fault him. He's getting younger, which in his graph, in his chart of his team's value, that's exactly what he needs to do so that he peaks at an appropriate time. So I also don't want to discount Darnell Mooney. I actually do think that he has high potential in this offense, and he's looked pretty good so far. So if they had a good quarterback, like Darnell Mooney would probably be like a wide receiver 3 in fantasy. But that team is a train wreck at quarterback. So
Yeah, I agree. It's not like he's Troy Maine Pope, but I don't think he's quite as much as Fulgham either.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Mike had some sort of itch he wanted to scratch. So,
Yep.
which brings us to trade number 5 on the day. If this isn't itch scratching, I don't know what is. Cody, you got 2 2021 firsts. Team 3 is who's got the chart up here?
Team 3 is Matt Trujillo.
Yep. So both is 2021 and 2022 flipped there.
Yep.
Okay. And then who's team 7?
That is Laramie's 2021
Yep, so
first, the one he had just acquired, the one we were just talking about.
Okay. So you get a mid and late first.
Yep.
In exchange for both next year, right? Where in exchange for 2022 first, we'll say they're both mids because we can't, no matter who the team is, it's hard to evaluate. But
I think Trujillo's is probably projected late, but
yeah,
it's Trujillo and Matt Magnuson's 2022 picks.
Both.
So probably you could say one mid, one late if you want to.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Just because they're in the same division.
So, I mean,
and Justin Jackson. Don't forget about Justin Jackson.
And Justin Jackson.
That's not. I mean that. Okay. I hate to say, but it's not negligible. Like he is a rosterable asset. It's not Troy Maine Pope.
Yeah, it's like a late third in value, probably.
Sure. I mean, is it enough to offset the present value loss in trading for 2022 picks?
I guess to me, it's not even close. I saw this and okay. I know the logic is that Mike's going full off for 2022, kind of like we said, which is great. But like, to me, he traded 2 picks that were earlier. Obviously, 2021 is earlier than 2022. And I inherently think that's worth more because an asset in the hand now is better than an asset in the hand later. But on top of that, in my opinion, the 2 firsts that he gave up, they were sooner and they were better. I don't think either of Matt Magnuson or Trujillo's picks are going to be as early as Laramie's is, and it's a year earlier. So I like Cody's side a ton more for this, but I guess I get the logic.
Cody, do you agree?
Yeah, I think I get Sam's point, and I do agree with the present value thing. I do understand that, but that is also generally from the perspective of, are you going to be competing here soon? And if you're not, like, I don't know if maybe I now compete a little bit earlier, so from that side, it's better from my perspective. But I don't think Mike Reed was going to be competitive in 2021. I don't think he will be in 2022. He might be a little bit, but not much. So I actually do like this as far as a team focus for him. As far as the positions, I agree. I do think the positions are better for me. I think it was actually interesting that I offered him. I think I actually offered him this isn't huge, but I actually like this over Jackson, is I offered him my 2021 third pick, which is effectively pick 25 in the draft if I keep going where I'm at. I think he declined that, and then I offered him Justin Jackson. He accepted that. So I actually think when I originally offered him my third pick for a pick, which is pick 25, I actually thought that was pretty even. But, yeah, we're just here.
Yeah, he must be a fan of Justin Jackson, I guess. We'd have to have him on the podcast maybe next week.
Yeah. Or maybe it's a flipping deal. It could just be a flipping deal. Like, he's like, if Austin Eckler stays injured and he keeps being a running back on that team, especially as Josh Kelly has actually been kind of struggling, maybe he thinks he can resell him and flip him for a second or something. I don't know.
Yeah. The more I look at this, the more I'm just like, this is like closer to a push than any of the other trades we've talked about. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it does allow you in other news, like the most important thing is it allows you to compete earlier, which isn't negligible.
Yeah, I think it makes a huge difference for your team. I think it's a really good trade for you.
Yeah, gives me 6 first-round draft picks in this 2021 now.
God.
And I got to keep my own 2022. which makes me happy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's big.
it is. This so far of all the trades we've talked about is the lowest impact trade. Matt received Drew Brees. Mike in trade number 5 now.
Lost count.
It might even be 6. Received Troy Pope back, right? And
Yeah, I
Van
think so.
Jefferson.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Immediate thoughts.
I'd take Magnus inside on this again personally, but for Mike's team, getting a flyer at Van Jefferson's good. So I don't think it's bad.
Yeah. It's maybe because he has Justin Jackson now. The fact that maybe he thinks he can package Justin Jackson and Tremaine Pope as running backs on that team to somebody that like Trujillo that had Austin Eckler. Maybe that seems appealing to him, but Trujillo doesn't want either one of those guys. So I don't really know who you go from there. It's kind of just a negligible trade in my opinion. I think it's like, how much value are you really going to get out of trading Drew Brees? Not much. He's just old. It works well for Magnuson just because he gets more depth at that position. And then, like you said, for Mike, it just at least gives him a flyer and Van Jefferson. That was a guy, honestly, going into this year. I really liked Van Jefferson. I thought his route running ability was really good, but he's just kind of unfortunately behind people on the depth chart for the Rams.
Yeah, I think this is a push, and it's probably as much value as you could possibly hope to get from Drew Brees. So I think it's a fine trade if you're looking to trade Brees for Mike. So the final. If we couldn't go any lower.
Oh my God.
Trade number 6 for Mike Reed. Or 7. Again, I did truly. It actually might be 7 now, or maybe even 8. Whatever. Regardless, I acquired Justice Hill, and he acquired Miles Boykin. What do you guys think?
I could realistically see both of these players being free agents in a month. Like, that's actually how I feel about this trade. It's such a nothing trade.
Yeah, I probably rather have Miles Boykin because he's actually going to see the field a little bit. But, like, overall, I think the odds of either of these players ever seeing a legitimate fantasy starting lineup is like 2%.
All right. Here's my mental gymnastics. Gus Edwards, Mark Ingram, free agents. Ravens have Dobbins and Justice Hill. Dobbins gets hurt. Justice Hill is RB1 on the Ravens, which is an RB1. I win the league. I take over Sam in 2021, all for the price of Miles Boykin.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, honestly, at that rate, Troy Pope is also a good flyer.
Also, what happens if Marquise Brown gets hurt? Miles Boykin, number 1 wide receiver. Lamar Jackson, instant connection.
Oh, I forgot about that. Shit, can I reverse? Abort!
Oh, gosh. But
no, I just needed I needed like a running back flyer other than AJ Dillon because I wasn't feeling too good about him. So
yeah, I'd almost rather have Justice Hill than AJ Dillon at this point.
Me too.
Yeah.
Speaking of, even though we own him in the MFL league. Yeah.
Shut up, Sam.
Well, all right. Just real quick point. There is a possibility AJ Dillon does start next year because both Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones are free agents.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a possibility. He just looks really bad.
Yeah, but so did Derrick Henry.
That is a good point. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, players get mature.
AJ Dillon looks like Eddie Lacy, but not the good Eddie Lacy.
Whoa. I love that comparison.
Sorry.
It's accurate. All right, moving on to trade, whatever it is now. Jesus Christ. I didn't realize Mike was literally part of all of these until we started.
Look at I didn't realize he traded these guys. I didn't know he already traded this.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know he traded these guys.
Dude, has he flipped every single player that he acquired during every one of these trades?
Is he just back to square one? Did he just like make all these trades and literally just get exactly what he had to start with?
Hey, Mike, text me if you want Tua back.
But he didn't start with him. Then he'd have to trade him back to Adam, and he'd have to get Dak and Chris Godwin back.
I'm gonna.
Wow.
I'm gonna ask the most important question of the night. Over under. Mike Reed had 2 grams of coke on his desk as he was making these trades.
Way over. Way over.
Yeah. Oh my god! I actually do
Unbelievable.
like this trade for Mike, though.
I
That's
do.
the funniest part. Is
I do
actually
too.
think when Raheem Mostert comes back, I think he still has RB1 potential when he's playing as the starting running back on San Fran.
No,
You don't
not
think so?
RB1. No, I think
He's been it whenever he's been a starter there.
yeah, but I think that Jermichael Hasty and uh, Jesus Christ, JD McKissick have shown enough value on that team that I could see it that they could vulture away some of Mostert's value this year. I would put Mostert
that
as
was
mid
happening
RB2.
before, and it didn't matter on that offense.
They didn't have McKissick or Hasty before.
Yeah, but they had Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida last year. Like, I mean, even looking at any year previous, that team is just such a running team. And actually, Jermichael Hasty has not played that well recently at all.
Well,
trust me, I own him.
His last one game was not that good.
I don't even think the game before that he was that good.
He had a pretty good first couple games.
Maybe
that's why
okay.
I wanted to pick him up. That's why everyone was racing. That's why 7 people bid on him.
Yeah, I get it. That was after his first game that he played.
To be fair, everyone has played well on that team, but Raheem Mostert has played better than everyone on that team. So, like, I agree with Cody. I think he'll be a starter when he comes back.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he won't be a starter. I just don't think that's a starter on San Francisco is an RB1. I think a starter on San Francisco is a mid RB2.
Yeah. Also, he has 2 games where he hasn't played good at all. I mean, his second game, he literally had 12 rushes for 29 yards.
Yeah, that was the game that, people.
And then even this last game in an injured backfield, they only gave him 4 rushes for 3 yards. I really don't think he's going to play much of an influence at all.
I think that was against Green Bay, though, right?
Yeah.
They were down the whole game.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of the point. Is like we'll see. I think,
I don't know. I'm not disagreeing with your assessment of Raheem Mostert.
Trust me, I want Jermichael Hasty to be good. I own him.
No, I don't want to just keep drawing the same point. I just don't think there's a world where he's an RB1. Like, I will take a dollar bet on that.
That when he plays, he's RB1?
Correct.
Okay. For this season?
Yeah,
I'm fine with that. Oh, whenever he plays, he's RB1. As if he plays, like, yeah, I'm fine taking that dollar bet. I'm in.
All right. For the record, I wasn't going to bet on him. I thought he had running back 1 upside. To me, that's different than saying he will be an RB1. So I agree with Tom. I would bet he's not an RB1, but I do think he has the potential.
I just don't see it. I really don't.
I mean, he's done it. Every game he's been healthy pretty much, like within the last, like this year and last year. If he's actually played the full game, he's been an RB1.
Yeah, but their defense is worse this year, so I don't think they're going to be in as many games, A, and their team is worse. B, with Nick Mullins at quarterback, like, I don't know. I think if we've seen anything in Dallas, when your quarterback situation gets worse, your running back situation can also get worse on a team. So,
yeah. He's also not a bad pass catcher, but yeah.
No, he's not. I don't know. Whatever. Regardless, I'll take the blame for derailing that conversation. Mark has acquired Justin Jackson and Darnell Mooney, and Mike got Raheem Mostert. It sounds like we all agree. Sam, I guess I didn't hear your opinion. Do you think the Mostert owner is the winner?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, cool. I don't like Raheem Mostert, but I could see why you would say he's the winner because he's the easiest guy to flip if he does come back healthy. All it takes for him is to get one game where he rushes like 18 times and catches 6 balls, and then you can flip him again. So,
yeah, exactly.
And speaking of flipping,
oh my God,
this is officially trade 9. I know it is because it's the last trade that happened. So it was 9 trades in a row. Oh, Mike, you are literally the hero of the league. That's got to be a record somewhere. Oh my God. Matt acquired Raheem Mostert, the guy we just talked about, for Damian Harris and Tony Pollard. What do you guys think?
This one's a lot closer than the last one.
Yeah, props to Mike for just flipping Mostert for more value than he had before.
So. Yeah, I don't mind it. It'll be interesting to see when Sony comes back what role Harris goes into. I mean, he's been an effective runner when he starts, so I actually think he deserves to be the starter over Michelle personally, especially given Michelle's struggles that he's had for like the last like couple years, or this year and last year. But I don't know if that's how it'll play out. I like the upside of Tony Pollard, but as long as he's in Dallas, he's not going to be a starter. I mean, maybe with the Zeke injury, but he's just kind of more of an insurance policy. But I don't hate it. I get it from Mike Reed's perspective.
Yeah, I think Damian Harris is younger than Mostert. Mostert really doesn't add much to Mike's team because he's not going to be competitive, but he does add value overall. But yeah, so Harris might be a starter for Mike when Mike's actually competitive. And if Zeke goes down, Pollard's easily worth a second. But yeah, on the flip side of that, Mostert's really good for Magnuson's team. So I think it's a win-win. I think it's good for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes into what we just talked about. I don't like Mostert, so like for me, this is actually like a slam dunk win for Mike Reed. Like I actually like Damian Harris. I just coming off of watching him last night, he actually looked good. It was the first time it was against the Jets, but it was the first time I felt confident in watching a New England running back not named Rex Burkhead. And so I love the acquisition of Damian Harris at the time he got him. Like I think that's great. So
I agree.
So the real question to ask is, what would happen if Mike Reed traded with himself for trade number 10? What would that look like?
Jeez, I feel like he already kind of did.
Yeah, seriously.
He'd probably at somehow just end up giving it like a second round pick for free. I don't know.
Was that a burn?
I think so. It was basically just trying to say he would just lose value. But I actually don't. Through his collection, I mean, he lost me on like the last 4 trades. But before that, he had a clear vision that he was going for. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah, let's recap. I think if he stopped after these first 2 trades here, I think we would have felt a lot better. Those were the 2 big trades he made that we felt like were great for the direction he took. And then like he had a couple in there we liked, but if he just would have stopped here and laid off that goddamn Coke, I think we would have felt better.
I'm gonna do a write-up analysis, but even if it just is like a 2-minute thing. I want to do a write-up analysis, or not write-up analysis, but essentially a summary. I want to make a list of all the players he lost and all the assets he gained just through this, just so we can see from a full, comprehensive viewpoint what did he do.
Hey Cody, do you need a template? I've got one in here. I made something like that from 2019. I called it The Curious Case of Mike Reed.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I'll shoot the template your way. You can use that.
That's right. That was all because of the AJ Green trade. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Overall, I think the streak was a lot better than that streak. His team still sucks, but if he goes from having basically no picks to now he has 6 2022 firsts. So, like, he's not going to have as quick of a turnaround as Cody or Adam did to compete. I assume Cody will have to competing. But, yeah, I think his team's definitely on the right track now. So, good for him. I think it was a good week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was at least fun to talk about, and it was fun. I think it made everyone laugh their ass off that all these trades were being made. So that's what fantasy's about. As Matt put in like one of the first few sentences of his charter or his bylaw was talking about how trades are the lifeblood of a fantasy football league, and I agree with him. So thanks, Mike, for giving us the entertainment we needed.
Yeah. It's a fun day.
All right, Coach, I think it's time for you to share your screen.
Yes.
We're going to move into the final segment, but probably one of the biggest segments we'll do in any podcast year, and that's breaking down the 2020 rookie draft, which was very complicated because of compensation draft picks due to our Superflex rule change.
And apologies, I'm the one recording this, so our heads might have changed right here. But then again, he didn't want to see us anyways.
Just to confirm, it does say you're still recording, right?
Yes, I'm still recording.
Okay.
I'm just saying the recording thing, whenever you share your screen, puts us at a very small capacity. So we just have little heads now. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I'm going to be right back. You guys keep going. I'm going to the bathroom quick.
All right, good luck.
So what do you have on your screen right now, Sam? Or Cody, Jesus Christ.
Oh, my God. We're losing it. We're losing it all. So what I have right here is what we wanted to do is go back through the draft and really analyze who we think should be where. just to kind of compare to see what we actually drafted, see what were really good picks, what were maybe not so great of picks, kind of the whole 9 yards, if you will. So what I did on top here is I just created kind of one of my own mock drafts that we would have done for my current rankings. It's really tough to rank. There's pretty obvious teardrops that you have. And within each tier, sometimes there can be like 8 players. And it can literally just be a matter of opinion on who you think is a little bit higher in each one of those tiers. So that's what I tried to draw right here. So let me just take you through who I just have on my personal mock list. And then me, Tom, and Sam will actually go through all together, and we'll pick out each one to create a fully comprehensive draft rankings for you guys. So let me just kind of start at the beginning here. Joe Burrow, number 1. Pretty straightforward. Tom, anything I'm missing here? I feel like it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly take him 101 still, but we've talked about already, like Justin Herbert. You could make the strong argument for him being 101 just with how good he's been. I'm not ready to make that argument yet, so I would still say Joe Burrow 101.
Okay. So I'm going to move him into our 101 section right here. But when I do that, I'm actually going to copy it. Perfect. And so I actually moved on from after Joe Burrow. This is where, again, I had a really tough time deciding who I wanted to go with. To me, it all matters on what positions do you value, especially in a draft like this. And given the state of our previous draft where running backs were valued, a little bit higher than wide receivers, I decided to just kind of stick with that mentality that we had. So I actually still put Clyde Edwards-Helaire number 2. My reasoning behind that is that I know while the workload has been being cut into a little bit, he still is an RB1 as far as his actual rankings currently in Sleeper. He's number 8, I want to say. And I think he does have a really good future there. The reason why I moved Jonathan Taylor so low is that I am a little bit worried on the pass catching side with Nyheim Hines. I think Nyheim Hines is a very talented pass catcher on that, and I think that's going to cut into Jonathan Taylor's production. And then obviously I moved Justin Herbert to 103 just because I think he's been really good. I think he has been, and you can make the argument he's even higher than both these running backs. I wouldn't fault you for it. So this is kind of a really tough area for me. And if you guys even think some of the wide receivers should be thrown in there, let me know. But who do you guys have at 102?
Justin Herbert.
I agree, Tom. I'd go Justin Herbert. I think he's proven it enough at this point that I would be moderately comfortable with him as my QB1 in Dynasty, which is really hard to replace.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think that's completely fair. Again, it's way too close for me to tell. But yeah, I think that's fine. Moving to 103, is this where you guys go running backs, or do you guys kind of want to break the mold and feel like we should go with wide receivers here?
Is there a third option?
Yeah, I was going to say.
You guys want to go
Tua?
Tua?
Yes.
I had Tua as my 102 originally.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's decreased from that, but I do think Herbert's played better. But yeah. Tua is my 103.
Wow.
Sam, you're saying exactly what I was thinking, because most Superflex experts had Tua 102 before the season. And I agreed with that, and I still agree with that. And Tua's proven at least something in 2 games. He does not look like he's completely lost like some rookies have. And he's shown mobility and looks like his injury in college didn't affect him at all. Like, he is going to be a running quarterback. He already has, 50 rushing yards in 2 games? And I think that's only expected to get better. So I think it's actually like so this is where I'm going to say, if we put Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert 1 and 2, I think by extension you have to put 2 or 3, because where else would he go?
He hasn't had nearly the amount of success Herbert and Burrow have already had in the NFL.
And Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jonathan Taylor have?
Edwards-Helaire has. He's an RB1. He's number 8. What do you mean that's not success?
Yeah, but I think that he's gone down in value in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, from a little bit from a 1-year deal with Le'Veon, but in a dynasty setting, I don't think that's going to – I don't know.
So you think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire's value has increased? Wait, okay, so where did
since draft day? I think it has.
See, that's where we disagree.
I think it stayed. I think it's gone down a little bit just for the current year.
Where did you have Tua in Superflex before the season, Cody?
I probably had him at, like, what do you mean? Like in our draft rankings? Like, where would I have drafted him?
Yep.
104. That's where I had him. He was literally right there at 105. I thought both the running backs were going to be taken before Tua. I actually don't, maybe I'm mistaken. I actually don't remember seeing that many mock drafts where he was taken above those running backs. But then again, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all preference. I guess, do we have to put it down to a vote for this just for the sake of it?
We don't have to put it down to a vote if I hear both of you saying Tua.
Yeah, I would say Tua. The podcast says Tua. Cody says hilarious.
I say I'm not happy about it. I don't like that one at all. So I'm going to put a little, if I could, I'd put a frowny face there.
You still can.
Yeah, feel free.
There's my frowny face. All right. So moving after that, then, are you guys finally ready to move on to running backs, or do I need to bring up Jordan Love also here because he's a quarterback?
I'm cool with running backs.
You're also forgetting tight ends, Cody. There are so many good ones from this draft.
So triggered.
Wait a
so triggered.
Kickers?
Yeah. Yep. I forgot the value they have. I'm going to go Clyde Edwards-Helaire here. Fuck you guys.
I agree.
This I agree with. God, it's about time you had a normal take.
Cody, I'm actually really proud of Tom that he hasn't thrown out Higgins yet. I thought Higgins would have been top 3.
No.
See, it's funny you say that because I was fully expecting to hear Henry Ruggs, because he was talking about his top wide receivers.
He's not the second. He's the third overall for me. Anyway.
Okay, so Clyde Edwards, then Jonathan Taylor, or you guys want to go into wide receivers yet?
No, I agree with those.
I was gonna say I'd actually go wide receiver here. If you guys feel strongly about Jonathan Taylor, that's fine. To me, it's proven enough that like these receivers have played so well that I would take probably CD or Justin Jefferson over him. But it's really close. It's really close to me. So
because of the scarcity of running back, I would take Taylor.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. And then after this, I would go CeeDee Lamb. I think he's the number one wide receiver to me. Tom, I'm assuming you agree with me on this?
I do, actually.
Yep, I think that's fine.
And then, obviously, I think this is where I'll be wrong. So, Tom, do you like Justin Jefferson over Jerry Jeudy? I know how Sam feels about this.
It's a very tough question for me to answer because I always feel like I have to pull in the reins of the Vikings fans. But I'm starting.
You know where I stand.
Yeah, I'm starting to believe it. It's tough. I wouldn't fault anyone for either pick. I'm starting to believe in Justin Jefferson, though. I actually would take him here.
Okay. So then Justin Jefferson, then Jeudy, I suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Tom, did you want to put Higgins above Jeudy?
No.
Okay.
No.
I heard you sigh, so I wasn't sure what you were thinking of right there. And I wanted to make sure that if you start thinking about Higgins this early, I hate you.
No, I had to meditate for a few seconds.
Okay.
I would, however, put Higgins over Swift.
Okay. I mean, that's who I have right here in my rankings. I have Higgins technically going at 109 right here. Is there any reason to believe it should be anybody else?
No, I think it's fine.
I do think we agree on the next one, though, or disagree on the next one, though.
Okay. You think Swift?
I think DeAndre Swift is the final pick in this massive tier. I think tier 1 is 101, 102, 103.
Mm-hmm.
And I think tier 2 is Helaire through Swift. And I think the top of tier 3 is Chase Claypool.
Interesting. I actually like Chase Claypool closer to the first tier on the bottom here because I actually think that first tier kind of gets separate. I think honestly, once you get to T. Higgins, it still gets a little bit separated out into its own little tier. I think from like Higgins to Swift to me, from looking at up here, is its own little tier. But
to be perfectly honest, I think I might take James Robinson over Claypool.
Oh God. Oh no.
I thought about
I mean-
that too.
I mean, he's RB5 on the season, and running backs typically just play how they play.
You could even make the argument that Dobbins is over Claypool too.
Oh my, yeah, I would definitely take Dobbins over Claypool. I actually forgot about him.
Would you take
Okay, so
Dobbins over Robinson?
are we just really bearish on Chase Claypool then?
I mean, I think he's good, but like, I don't think he's as good as these like top
All
running
right.
backs.
So
Yeah,
we're saying, so you guys would say Swift, Robinson, Dobbins, then Claypool, or not? Maybe not even
Yes.
then Claypool, but just for sure DeAndre Swift, Robinson, and Dobbins.
No,
Is
that
that
actually-
your order of them though?
Spoiler alert, that is the order, yeah. For me. I actually you could even make the argument of Antonio Gibson over Claypool. Like
I'd
I'm not
probably-
going to. I wouldn't, but that's, I guess, in other words, that's how far I drop Claypool.
Yeah, I just think just based on like how those running backs have played, they've looked really good, and like Claypool has too, but like I don't know, the running backs have looked really good when they've played. I thought.
Yeah, I think they've looked. Yeah, I think they've looked fine. I think actually, and yeah, I've never been an Antonio Gibson truther yet, but I get the argument. I mean, like to me, yeah, you could go Claypool or Claypool then Gibson or Gibson then Claypool. I just think it just for sure those two are your next guys here. So it sounds like I don't know. What do you guys think? If maybe scarcity, it is Gibson actually.
So I guess kind of going back just a couple picks. Sorry to change this up, but like, how do you guys rank Swift, Robinson, Dobbins? To me, like I could really go any of them. I mean, Robinson's played well, but like he doesn't quite have the draft pedigree, or like who knows his future.
So to me, it goes. It also does go a little bit. Who was the highest prospect? Swift was higher prospect than Dobbins going into the draft. Like he was.
They
I mean, he just
they were
was.
very close. Though.
I think that's actually debatable.
I think it only changed once they went to a team.
It was very close coming into the draft.
No.
It was always Dobbins, Swift, and JT.
The expert that I like to look at always had Dobbins actually 101, or not 101, the best running back in the class.
But yeah, I guess maybe DeAndre Swift was the biggest one I always heard about out of those three. He was the one I most unanimously saw ranked the highest out of those three.
Yeah, but it was so close that like
it was a little close. I just like the fact that I think Swift takes over that backfield for sure next year. I get that Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards are free agents, but I could easily see them re-signing Mark Ingram to another deal. Whereas, like, I don't see them signing Adrian Peterson, and then I actually do see them trying to move on from Kerryon Johnson. Also, from what I've seen, I like Swift. Swift has a better eye test passing for me than Dobbins does at this point. The reason why then Robinson, it's really close. I agree with that. But Robinson, then to your point, Sam, is he actually has just really, really performed. And that's why I put him in the middle there over Dobbins. Dobbins hasn't been bad, but there's been some games where I don't know. It is really close, I guess.
So then I would make the argument that you would put Robinson ahead of Swift then.
The talent of what I've seen from the eye test, plus the fact that in my mind, I just like Swift coming out of the draft better as a higher thing is enough for me to put him over Robinson and not underneath him. But that's just me.
Yeah, it just feels like we're splitting hairs. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying at all. Like I'm not shitting on what you're saying. I think Swift and Dobbins are so close that if we're splitting those hairs with Robinson exactly, I'd rather just be confident and say, you know what? Because of what Robinson's shown me now, I'd rather take him.
Sure.
I guess that's where I'm starting to think.
I don't know. Sam, what do you think?
Man,
Or are you like on the other side where you think Robinson should actually be lower?
honestly, it's kind of what I was thinking. I could literally go any way on those three, but I would probably go if push came to shove and I was drafting right now. I'd probably go Swift, Dobbins, Robinson.
I'm cool with that too. My whole argument is we can't put Robinson right in the middle.
Yeah. I think Swift and Dobbins are like identical to me because they have the same risks and they've played basically the same to me. And I do think that Swift, I liked him better coming out of the draft, but I think they were close enough that like it's pretty much a push.
Sure.
I like that order currently. Yeah.
Okay. I'm very comfortable with that as well. So then moving on, we either have Claypool or Gibson. I think those are your next two options, to me, at least. Um, if you want to go over scarcity, see, this is where it's, yeah, I think you probably go Gibson here, right? You go Gibson and Claypool.
I'd probably go Claypool, personally, but yeah, I could go either way on this as well.
I think I would go with Claypool too. Yeah.
Okay.
God, this draft class is so deep.
Isn't
now
it?
you know
It's
why
so
it took me
crazy.
so long to do this when I was doing it, because I was like, how do I rank these guys? They're so close, and I'm trying to do this in like 2 minutes.
I mean, not to be that guy, but fuck, I might even take Ruggs over Gibson, to be completely frank.
Oh, I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't either.
Not the way it's gone.
I think it's really close though.
Yeah.
So I guess after that, I actually had Cam Akers at 203 right here at this position over Ruggs.
That's where I disagree.
I think I would take both Ruggs and Rieger over Akers at least.
Man, why are we doing this? This is miserable.
This is
this is
hard.
so bad.
So it turns out if you picked anywhere from like what 110 to like 205 or 206, you're going to get a great player, and it doesn't really matter who you pick, or at least a solid player.
Yeah.
Turns out my strategy turned out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay, so I just ended up putting those guys there, and then like in this order. Then you kind of get to what were, besides Claypool and Higgins rising up, what was the second round class? Between Chenault, Ayuk, Pittman, those types of wide receivers. So I'm going to be honest, when I actually did this at this end point, I think starting from like 203 and on forward, I had looked at it more on a Fantasy Pros ranking side just because I really couldn't decide on my own. So this is kind of Fantasy Pros from the way we're looking at it right here. So next was Chenault, Ayuk, and then Pittman. Do we have any big arguments about that? I guess you could maybe make the argument Ayuk's higher than Chenault right now, but
I was actually going to recommend that.
Yeah.
Tier, so I could go either way, but
Oh,
I'd prefer.
I actually agree with that. Chenault to me hasn't looked that good.
He has. It's just, I mean, again, if they do end up getting like Justin Fields or something, I could see that really turning out for Chenault. But by the same token, Ayuk has done more. But at the same, to keep saying tokens, it's because Deebo Samuel and Kittle have been injured, so he's been forced to do more.
Yeah, but I think from a talent perspective, I think Chenault. Well, I think Chenault and Ayuk are really close from a talent perspective. Ayuk, Sam, there was an interesting stat I think you always told me, right, about how he had the most. What was it, like all-purpose yards, or was it just yards?
I believe he had the most yards after catch.
Yards after catch.
College football.
Yeah. And I actually think from watching him, I think Ayuk just fits in way more with San Fran's offense. I think Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are very much kind of the same player. And I actually think they fit a system really well as being those kind of can do it all, players. Whereas like Chenault to me, even if they got Justin Fields, he feels, I don't know, I think he's still kind of lost in that offense when you have DJ Chark and you now with the emergence of James Robinson being kind of a focal point there. Not to mention there is still some other wide receivers that you could put are above him at this point right now, like Keelan Cole hasn't actually performed all that badly. So I'm just more questioning how Chenault would fit into that offense going forward, whereas I feel solidified on how I know Ayuk is in that offense.
Yeah, I think Ayuk is like his closest comparison is like Brandon Cooks to me, which is a good comparison. And Chenault kind of reminds me of like Cordarrelle Patterson. So
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I do think Chenault's probably better. Like, don't get me wrong. Actually, Patterson's had a very successful NFL career, but it's so freaking close, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Chenault is going to really need a clever coach that knows how to use him, because that style of just really good athlete but not a elite receiver type has it seems like it's always super hard to use. Like, to me, you can even kind of fit in like Curtis Samuel there, who always had the super high potential but never really turned out. Who was that guy that used to play in the Rams? Like
Tavon Austin.
Tavon Austin. No one ever figured out how to use him.
Yep.
I mean, Really, Percy Harvin is the last like really solid of that type I can remember. And yeah, Patterson's had a good career, but not a good fantasy career. Like he was probably
It's
relevant like a year.
funny you bring that up because actually the only person, especially besides Harvin, that's ever actually worked for me like that is Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill has been the opposite end that has shown how that type of player can work. I mean, do you guys remember when he was like what Tyreek Hill was you hoped for a 50-yard touchdown in the game, and if you didn't get that, he got like 0 points. He was the ultimate boomer bust player until he finally kind of came into his own and learned how to be a wide receiver. And it's interesting because I think that's what you hope for with these guys because you know that they can have the explosiveness. But history would probably say that most guys in those positions don't ever really pan out to their full potential.
Yeah. This draft class is just nuts.
Yeah, this is already 207, 206, and we're talking about Brandon Ayuk and Laviska
I mean,
Shenault.
these are seriously late round one picks in a lot of years.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Wild.
So
Just wild.
moving on from this in mine, it was Michael Pittman right here, which up to you guys. If you guys can think of any that are better, but
I'd take Mims over him.
I was thinking that too, but I think they're close.
Yeah, I think they're close, but I think Mims is going to have a new quarterback by the name of Trevor Lawrence, and he's also looked good. Keep in mind he was injured the first 5 games of the season. So
yeah, he has looked good when he's played.
So I actually, not to derail the conversation, I think you could make the argument Mims is ahead of a ton of the guys we've already talked about. Like I think you could say he's ahead of Shenault, Ayuk, and Akers, and maybe even Rieger. I really like Denzel Mims. That's where I'm coming from.
Ooh, I'm not that high on him yet from watching him. I get where you're coming from.
Trevor Lawrence, man. That's where I'm coming from.
I mean, if he doesn't go back and also if he doesn't pull an Eli Manning. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I just am not willing to buy it that much. It's actually funny. I would actually be willing to put him over Shenault, but Ayuk, Rieger, and Ruggs, I feel like I just kind of know their positions right now, which I can just predict a little bit better. But that's just my opinion. Also, that's like with the caveat that the Jets don't get another wide receiver this next year. That could possibly be another one. Or acquire anybody through free agency.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know. I just have a tough time believing that they're going to roll with Denzel Mims being their number 1 next year for Trevor Lawrence, especially with a rookie quarterback. I think they would
drafted, wasn't he?
Round
Mims?
2, I think.
Yeah,
I think,
round 2.
He was like a mid-second.
Yeah. He's not a bad option.
He kind of reminds me of Chris Godwin to make a comparison.
Seems like a better athlete than Godwin, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I'm fine putting him above Pittman. I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, the more I talk about, just even talking about Mims, I'm just like, it makes me want to trade for him because I just
you're not getting him.
You're not going to get him. We've all gone down that route. So
Mike's protecting those young receivers.
Yeah, as he should.
Smart. Yeah.
Pittman after that.
Yep.
And then I actually had at this point, I think some of these were also just opinion based because it was way too close to tell. I actually had Zach Moss then at 210.
Yeah, I think for sure.
This is actually where it stops mattering for me right after Zach Moss.
Yep,
yeah,
exactly
I 100%. And then I put Jordan Love right here still, which is I think it's.
But then see, this is what. Sorry, I don't mean to cut. I do apologize for cutting you off, but this is actually exactly why I think it actually stops, and I don't even want to finish this out because if we have Love in there, we should have Hurts in there, and so it's kind of just like. But then we're not including Kelly. So I actually think this like 101 through 210 is kind of the draft where it mattered for me in 2020.
I'm going to round it off then with my picks. So fuck you.
Love and Hurts are a pretty big gap to me.
Yeah, I actually also agree with that.
Yeah, but I do think that there's like, I think Denzel Mims is, or who do we draft? Zach Moss is probably worth a double with Jordan Love. I think that's how big of a drop off it is. It's massive.
Yep. I don't agree. I don't disagree with that whatsoever. I think it's like just a clear top guys you want, and then after that, I think they could develop maybe. Like Jordan Love to me out of the next tier is the highest potential, in my opinion, which is why I put him up there. but obviously we'll see.
Sure.
So
So who do you guys think in the actual draft? I see you have those rankings there too. Was the biggest steal and the biggest, I guess, reach or bust, however you want to put it?
ooh, well, if you're not counting I guess he didn't really get drafted, so I'm not really going to count James Robinson in there.
I think
that
you
counts.
can.
Yeah,
I
it's
think that does
biggest
count.
steal.
Well, then I think
Yeah.
that's clearly the biggest steal.
That's the biggest steal, and the biggest bust, even though no one saw it coming, was Jalen Rieger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
God,
right. No,
I thought that guy should have been drafted number 1 overall, honestly.
Yeah, right. I actually do think, though, that just to kind of throw it in there, you could make an argument for both T. Higgins and Herbert as being steals of the draft as well, just with how well they've played and how late they were. Like, even Herbert at 109, I think he's doubled in value since then. But
Yeah.
If we're saying that Higgins moved up, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 spots? Or wait, 10 spots? Yeah. Shit. My math is way off. Where the fuck am I? Whatever.
He's up about what, 6 spots?
Yeah, 6. And then, but did you say Herbert, Sam, too?
yeah, going from
Yeah,
109.
Herbert's my biggest one then. If these are our rankings with him 102, which I don't disagree with. I think Herbert's the biggest one to me. Not besides James Robinson. James Robinson's more of an anomaly than I would say the rule.
Yeah. I still like Jarrett Stidham, actually, even though you have him now, Cody.
I don't know how I feel about him. I don't feel that great about him, but
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully he turns out. I guess, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think who then? Obviously, we said Jalen Rieger. Who else do you guys kind of have as like a decent drop, like comparably to where they were drafted at?
I guess to me, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, it's not like he dropped that far, but I think his value's dropped a lot, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I actually think Henry Ruggs to me has dropped, even though he was 112. I know we put him at 203. I'm worried about him. I don't know.
I don't know. I know I was always talking about Ruggs. Ruggs hasn't looked bad. Keep in mind, it's not like he's looked bad. It's just they're not using him in the offense. Like he's basically at the moment the stretch the field guy that runs fast. I think that he could really develop into, again, I'm not making the comparison to Tyreek Hill, but he could develop into that kind of player. Like I would be really happy to have Ruggs actually as a flyer right now. So it is worth, I think where we put him is accurate, but he's got a high ceiling still.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like we've discussed before, in most drafts, he would still be a late first. But it's just that this draft is so deep that he falls to that early to mid-second.
Yeah. Can we quickly talk about Keyshawn Vaughn being taken 204?
I was going to at the time, it wasn't a bad pick, though.
I know.
And then they got Fournette.
Yeah, it's brutal.
That killed him because Jones and Vaughn would have been a fine duo, and I would have much preferred that too because I lost Fournette value quite a bit. I still don't actually truly understand why they went and got Fournette because I actually do think Vaughn has looked okay. Like he's one of those like speedy little backs that's a perfect complement to Ronald Jones. Like why? I don't know. It didn't make any sense that they paid $2 million for Fournette, but whatever.
I agree. That was a really weird pickup, but
yeah. So I think overall takeaways is honestly in the first round, not a ton of change. I mean, guys being kind of thrown around here and there a little bit, but really like I would say a significant amount of hits within the first round, which is really nice to see in this draft. But then obviously second round is, second rounds is kind of always really different that's where it's a lot tougher to hit.
yeah, I agree. And I mean, looking at how deep this draft is, I truly don't think, given some values have decreased, but like every pick through 203 halfway through the season still has most of their value. Keyshawn Vaughn is the first true bust, in my opinion, on this entire list, which is pretty incredible to say.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, what a crazy draft. I don't know if we'll ever see something like this again. I think I shouldn't say that. That's an outlandish statement. This is probably one of the 2 best draft classes in the last 10 years for dynasty fantasy football, which is a big thing to say. But I'm interested to see what happens next year because I do think 2021 will be full of like guys that were picked in the third that end up being like early seconds or whatever, or guys moving up between the second and first round, and guys being complete busts too, just because we don't have sample size.
Yeah. I actually, from previewing the 2021, I mean, obviously it's really early, and I get that. But from previewing the 2021 draft, I actually like the first round a lot in that draft. After that, I'm not as sold in that draft as I was in like 2020 draft. That's where there's a huge difference to me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Cody, how pumped are you to have 6 firsts next year looking at this list? If you would have had them this year, you would have basically Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Justin Herbert, DeAndre Swift, Dobbins, Henry Ruggs. Would you be okay with that team?
Yeah, for sure. It's actually funny because I on possibly another tab here, if you want me to show it, and I can just give up my whole thing. I actually put together a little sequence of where the drafts would be at right now, and I used a mock draft of what somebody had just put up together to see what my team would possibly look like. And obviously, I don't really care about showing this just because so much is going to change till draft day, so it's not even relevant. So I actually, at this point right here, created, and this is maybe using inaccurate standing data, but what I did right here is I drew out where everybody's going to be at. I drew up where the draft picks would end at in this line right here. And then using a mock draft, I actually picked what the draft picks would be from this guy. There's not a lot for
Brown.
Journey Brown's actually learned his name. He's a good running back. He's a really good running back from Penn State. I actually, like, to me, he is like the Clyde Edwards-Helaire, where I actually think I get Clyde Edwards-Helaire just rose a lot because of his position, but Journey Brown looks really, really good. Other than that, I mean, a lot of guys you kind of recognize. Jamie Newman's another interesting one on that list where he's sitting out this year, but he's going to go to the Senior Bowl and perform there. So we'll see how that all goes for him.
Is Pitts not the number 1 tight end? I've heard he's supposed to be like a top 10 NFL pick.
He could be. I didn't see him on this list, and this list was from about a month ago, or two ago. So it might have changed. Like I said, there's not a lot of recent ones. It was between this one that I'd found that was 2 months ago, and there was one by Kyle Yates done in like May 2020, which is like obviously like 5 or 6 months ago. So I had a really tough time finding super flex mock drafts. Sure. Finding normal mock drafts wasn't that tough, but super flex was a little difficult.
If Jamar Chase falls to you at 6, I'm quitting the league.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, to me, yeah, I actually agree with that. I think what I would probably guess as most likely would be if you switched, like, obviously I don't know where Journey Brown's going to change, but if you put like Jamar Chase at number 4 right here, that would seem a lot more reasonable to me. But I mean, like, even then at 106, that leaves a Najee Harris type player, which, again, a lot of people right now, I know it's not on this list, but I know a lot of people have him as the second best running back right now.
Oh, I'm a huge fan, yeah.
Yeah, he looks really good.
I just still think I'd rather do pull tabs than look at any of this because like, it changes so much. Like, there's going to be guys we don't even know of who are being drafted. There's going to be guys that are falling because of where they got drafted. Like, it is interesting to look at, but Jesus, I don't know.
I think it changes a lot once you get towards the end of the first round. I actually think maybe not so much on this, but the fact that I think we have Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Travis Etienne, Jamar Chase, and Trey Lance, I would be willing to bet that that's probably not that far off.
Sure.
Yeah, overall, I agree with those ones, yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's probably a crapshoot. I agree with that.
You're never going to be able to guess late firsts or seconds, and there's always going to be like a CEH that kind of comes out of nowhere in the NFL draft. But overall, I mean, if you would have guessed like how our draft went, you would have gotten most of them, right? You know what I mean? Burrow to JT, Swift, Dobbins, all in the first round. CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson rose a little bit.
That was a riser for sure.
He was supposed to be like an early second, though. But like
Yep.
Jerry Jeudy was up there. You know what I mean? Like we probably would have guessed like 80% of the first round, right?
It's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. Interesting look at your team in the future, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of a humble brag. But well, we'll see. I mean, my players could all suck. So, but I can stop sharing and turn it back to you, Tom.
Oh, there's nothing to turn to. Maybe if you were a better manager, you'd be able to coach your players.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I don't know. From looking at this trophy right here, I'd say I'm a pretty good manager.
Figured.
Triggered. Cool. That was a good segment. Those two segments were awesome. Thanks for sharing your screen codes.
Yep, my pleasure.
Yeah. I'm super tired for some reason though.
Wow. CMC isn't the only person turning to dust.
Oh, victory lap. Victory lap. God, the 2-year prediction in the making. I couldn't have been more accurate. I'm so proud of myself.
I'm actually surprised you're happy because it would have been way more satisfying if we were like playing in the championship and then he got injured like the first play and I lost the championship because of it. Could still happen.
I just feel so vindicated. It's funny because it wasn't just like, oh, torn LCL, bad luck, ACL. It actually is 2 different injuries.
Mm-hmm.
He just actually looks like he can't. I don't know. I don't want to draw conclusions yet because he might completely be fine next year. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to go with it. I don't think he's going to be the same running back ever again. Like, I think that he's going to be outside the top 10 for the rest. Top 5. I'll say top 5. Top 3. Shit. What do I want to say?
Even though he came back the one game from the leg injury and already played like a top 1 running back again and then just got a shoulder injury.
Just got a shoulder injury. I mean,
I'm not that concerned about it.
Does that slow down your running ability with a shoulder injury?
I was way more concerned about the high ankle sprain. The shoulder injury, I don't care about at all.
Yeah, his body can't. Like I said, for 2 years, his body just can't handle the toil of the league.
Oh my God!
He only just like got top 5 ever fantasy performances for a year.
We'll see.
That's all right. I don't need him.
You guys have anything else to say?
That's about it.
Yep, same here.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe, like, comment, ask us to join the podcast. We'd love to have you on. And with that, thanks again for listening to the Midwest Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast. See you guys later.
Peace.
It's a football podcast with Tom, Cody, and Sam.